But at the time, I really internalized that. And I think no matter what you hear as a kid, you really own a lot of the responsibility for those decisions, feeling like it's your fault. You couldn't keep them together. It's your job to try and keep your parents happy, right? You get a lot of like self loathing and shame, I think. And everyone's different. But I do believe that those types of circumstances really tend to shape your belief in yourself. And I think on top of that, there was some, I would say, events that any child, probably a lot of children have experienced. I was overweight and was bullied for that at school. I unfortunately was also sexually abused for many years by
I am
my
so
live-in
sorry.
babysitter's husband. Thank you very much. And I had known that that happened, but there was a lot of stuffing down, right? A lot of distracting myself from what had really happened and pretending that I was okay.
Welcome to your Wordless podcast, the space where we redefine success, self worth, and transformation. I am Nick Nieras, the soul centered architect of transformation, helping you unlock your highest potential and build a legacy beyond limits. Now, whether it is self mastery, career breakthroughs, or wealth creation, this is where change begins. Now, let's dive in. What was it like growing up as a Chandler Stroud?
Well, I mean, there were a lot of highs, but there were also a lot of lows. And, I don't think women or, I mean, honestly, anyone really gives a lot of weight to their childhood into adulthood, right? We're so focused on the here and now and what's coming next. But it's really incredible the power of your experiences and your childhood development and the impact that has on how you show up in the present. And so that was a big realization for me about a year ago that started this entire journey, was that my past was absolutely dictating how I was showing up in the present, not just emotionally, but my physical state as well, how I felt in my body, my health. And so, I knew there were some skeletons in that closet, as they say. And growing up, I think, like any kid, I was faced with challenges. Around 7 years old, my parents divorced. They separated actually for a number of years before getting divorced. And it was ultimately the best decision for both of them and worked out for our family. But at the time, I really internalized that. And I think no matter what you hear as a kid, you really own a lot of the responsibility for those decisions, feeling like it's your fault. You couldn't keep them together. It's your job to try and keep your parents happy, right? You get a lot of like self loathing and shame, I think. And everyone's different. But I do believe that those types of circumstances really tend to shape your belief in yourself. And I think on top of that, there was some, I would say, events that any child, probably a lot of children have experienced. I was overweight and was bullied for that at school. I unfortunately was also sexually abused for many years by
I am
my
so
live-in
sorry.
babysitter's husband. Thank you very much. And I had known that that happened, but there was a lot of stuffing down, right? A lot of distracting myself from what had really happened and pretending that I was okay.
Hi, I'm Nick Nieras, your host of the Your Wordless podcast. Now, if these real raw stories hit home, don't wait. Please follow, like, and subscribe my Spotify and YouTube. For bite-sized inspirational reels, follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Don't wait, your transformation starts today. Thank you, and bye for now.
And that obviously showed up in school. I struggled academically. So here you have, I make it sound like it was a very lonely experience and it was certainly very hard. I think the ages of like especially 8 to 12 was just a really tough time for me. But I felt loved by my family, by my parents. I attended a great school. I had friends. So it wasn't all bad, but I think those experiences really left a mark on how I view myself in the world and my relationship to it. And it's been a real journey to kind of go back and peel back the layers of the onion and understand how those events shaped me. And we're still, I always use the analogy, they've been the pilot of my life. Like these aren't just passengers kind of with me as I'm going through my day to day. They really had dictated how I show up, how I am triggered in situations with friends, with coworkers, with colleagues, how I felt the need to always achieve and succeed and keep the peace and people please and make sure I was the good girl and I wasn't bad and I didn't have all this guilt and shame. And you can kind of see how that, kind of builds on itself. And over time, even additional experiences that continue to prove that to yourself, you really develop these deep seated beliefs that sometimes you don't even realize are there. And I think it's been really eye opening to unearth what existed below the surface and start to change it so that I could feel happier and healthier in my present day.
Hey love, it is Nick Nieras here. And if you've been feeling stuck, burnt out, or like you're meant for more, but don't know where to begin, I have got something for you. This isn't just about mindset work, it's about deep soul healing, subconscious rewiring, and remembering who you really are. Now, I created a free self hypnosis audio to help you release the noise and reconnect your inner truth in just 10 minutes. You will feel the shift immediately, I promise. And if you are ready to go deeper, explore my digital guides designed to help you overcome fear, activate your confidence, and find clarity in your next move. They are your next step before full transformation. But if your soul is saying, I am ready, then apply for a one to one coaching with me. This is where we do the real work, transforming your blocks, aligning your life, and unlocking the confident, magnetic version of you that creates wealth your way. Head to the show notes now. Your new chapter starts with one small yes. Now let's get back to the video you're watching. Wow, there's so much to unpack there. So, what you said last year was the year that you realized that you needed to be on this journey. So, what were you doing there? What were the beliefs that you had before to the belief that you at the time that you said, I'm aware that I have these beliefs and I need to change them?
Well, I think it started with my whole life. I've had, I'll say, digestive issues, constant stomach aches, digestive challenges, problems, anxiety, other symptoms that I've always coped with or managed because most women, especially, can. I mean, we're tough and it's amazing what we stuff down and suppress. But at some point, and I'm a believer in midlife, in your mid 40s, that catches up with you. And suddenly you hit your wall of like, I can't do this anymore. And I actually was on a work trip. I was traveling out to Colorado, and in the airport, I saw a book at the airport bookstore called The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk. And that book changed my life. I read it on the plane. I absolutely devoured it. And what it is about is how trauma, our childhood circumstances, dictates how we are able to engage with the world and how the body holds memories that we may not even realize. And so your emotional state absolutely dictates your physical health and physical state. And it was in that moment that I realized, wow, like my stomach issues have escalated and been so bad lately. At the time, my father had been diagnosed with a rare blood disease, and that was adding stress. And so I think in coping with those emotions, they were showing up in my digestive health.
Mm.
And I had reached this point where I was like, I'm tired of dealing with this. And this guy's telling me that I'm probably holding on to things that are making me feel unhealthy. So I sought medical help. I went to one of the most renowned GI doctors in the Connecticut area, and those tests came back absolutely pristine. There was nothing medically wrong with me. And yet I had been suffering for years, my whole life. And that moment was when I picked up the phone and I called a therapist, one that specializes in trauma and EMDR. That stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. It is a type of therapy that goes beyond talk therapy, that pulls your body into the conversation. So it stimulates a left right movement of the brain. You can do that by tapping. You can do that by watching a light. I hold tappers that vibrate left right. And what it does is it pulls you along and helps you dive comfortably into those more trying memories to really replace whatever beliefs you picked up about yourself along the way and plant new ones. And so that was my first call. And then my other friend, a good friend of mine, had said, you should really try this man, Jacques, who specializes in acupuncture. He's been practicing for 25 years, and I think he can help you with your digestive stuff. So I called him. And from that therapy appointment and from that first acupuncture appointment, this journey unfolded where one practitioner led to another, led to another, led to another. And suddenly I had this team, this board of advisors who all practiced different modalities, but all within the umbrella, I would say, of holistic well being. And it started to really change me. I started feeling different, healthier in my body. I woke up and accessed every day a state of joy that I didn't think was possible for me. I had always felt a little bit muted, like I'm living this blessed life. I have created the dream life. I have the husband, I have the kids, I have the house, I have this amazing job. I live in this beautiful community, but I always felt I should be happier. Why am I not happier than I am? And this work has completely shifted that and kind of twisted it on its head. And now I wake up and it's like my purpose in life is to just keep shattering new ceilings of joy. How much happier can I get? And it's really been just so magical. That is truly the word. It's been magical.
I love it's like the energy is radiating off of you. Like you're glowing. I could only imagine what you went through before. Like, and you said overweight. The moment you said that, I was already imagining an overweight kid to you now. That's an 180 change. I mean, a lot of people there are probably finding out right now as we speak, or they might be going through the same thing. They've probably left that physical pain, like where okay, they probably realize I'm actually I'm reliving this experience in my head, and now it's manifesting in my relationship, in my physical health, mental health, everything, all aspects of their lives. But the awareness of a person being able to peel that and pull that, and also face that, your very self, that okay, I have this problem and acknowledge it. And I think that's the key to you changing and replanting those beliefs. Now, the modalities that you go to or you apply on yourself,
Mhm.
that may be different to everybody, right? Everybody can accept certain parts or certain ways of method of healing. And I love when you said holistic, because I too am an advocate of that. I set up my own practice based on holistic lifestyle. And now, from a holistic person striving towards that to another, what do you do now? What is your practice?
Thing. I do everything I talk about on the show. I mean, you kind of have to put your money where your mouth is, right? And the thing is like, I don't talk about stuff I don't believe in. I'm
Yes.
not peddling random practitioners. Like these are the people that healed me. This is how the podcast started. I just felt so compelled to share this newfound joy with the world. And my goal is to empower women to heal themselves, not just cope with life, but truly heal. We have an incredible ability to heal our bodies and our minds on our own if we are willing to take the steps to do it and know that it's going to be a little uncomfortable in the process. This is not an overnight flip the switch, take a pill, you're better in 24 hours. This is a journey. But look, a year-long journey to focus on yourself and your healing at the end of the day is like a very small percentage of your overall lifespan in most cases, right? So like think about what you get on the other side. And I feel really passionately about teaching women how to do this work, and I do it all. I don't do it all every day or every week because that can get extremely costly. But there are a couple things that I am religious about doing on a weekly basis or a daily basis, and then sprinkling in every month or couple months as needed. But the point is, these healers that I am trying to bring to women everywhere so that they can learn these approaches is I want them to choose what works for them. You absolutely do not have to do all 12 things. You don't, but I have, and I love talking about them, and I will continue to do all of them. But what I think, as I try to explain this to women who ask, I think what's really important is what we already know. Healing truly is a holistic approach. You have to be taking care of your mind, body, and spirit. And I think that goes without saying. But I specifically believe that it goes a little bit deeper than that. And I found it to be really helpful in thinking about healing across three dimensions. The first being your past, the second being your present, and the third being your future. So, the way I tell women and want to coach women in finding that joy is you have to start in the present. This doesn't all happen at once, but you've got to learn to show up for yourself again, to take care of yourself again, to strengthen those muscles, to feel confident and strong. And once you do that, then you have the fun job of going to your future and figuring out, what is that life I want to live? What does it look like? How does future Chandler wake up on a Tuesday morning? What does she do first? What does she have for breakfast? Who's her first phone call? Like, really bring it to life. And it's not, this is the car I'm driving and this is my job. It's like, here is the feeling that I embody all day long. And once you know that feeling and you have that clear vision of where you're going, you suddenly have a roadmap of like, okay, that's the destination. I mean, so often we live our lives on autopilot, allowing everything to come at us, happen to us, but your life is happening for you. And if you can see that vision of where you're going, that's energy that you've now put out into the universe and exists. Like, you are living that life in some other parallel universe, right? So that's the fun part. Now, after you've done those two things, you're taking care of yourself in the present. You're continuing to hone in on that vision of your future. Now's when you can do the tough work because you've been showing up for yourself. You know where you're going. And now you've got that anchor. So you won't get lost going back to your past to do the work that needs to get done. I love the analogy. I did have my very first guest hero on last week to talk about rolfing. And he says, you cannot replace, or excuse me, you cannot download new software without removing the bad software, the old software first. And so that's how I like to think about it. You can show up for yourself in the present and build this future. But if you're still hanging on to stress, heartbreak, despair, overwhelm, or any of the things that showed up in your childhood or your past, you're putting a ceiling on the type of happiness you can experience. You really have to go back and feel whatever you didn't feel. And I think you can train yourself similar to going to a gym and lifting weights or doing cardio. You can train yourself to be ready for that work. And once you do it, everything changes. That's when you can start manifesting your dream life. But you got to go back and deal with the stuff that you haven't faced.
So when you were going back to the stuff that you knew that you're gonna have to face it some other way, one way or another, who did you go to? And what
So
did you do on your own?
it's a
Yeah.
great question. So this is where I am a huge proponent of therapy, talk therapy. Now, I knew I needed to take it further. The Body Keeps the Score, that book I read by Bessel van der Kolk, talks about EMDR as a proven treatment for trauma in war veterans, assault and abuse victims, so I knew that this was the treatment I was seeking. And so I found someone right near my house who specialized in it. She actually worked at the New York City Fire Department during 9/11, and I knew she was just well versed in trauma therapy. And so I started seeing Jen Baumgold, who is a healing hero. And we started doing the work of going back, creating those resources so I felt safe in the present so that I could go back and do the eye movement desensitization and reprocessing therapy, holding those tappers every week and going back to unearth those memories that were keeping me from the life that I wanted. And what I will tell you that was so eye opening, I mean, this is like the biggest surprise in everything I had done, was that it's true what they say. Trauma is not what happens to you. It is how you perceive and experience what is happening to you. And I want everyone to hear that, because there are big T traumas, the stuff we know, right? Loss, abuse, grief, rejection, abandonment, all of those things, right? Those are identifiable. But there are so many small t traumas, whether you were left out of a group of friends, or maybe your parents took your sibling on a vacation and left you behind because you were too little. That feeling you got in that moment, you shrug it off because you're like, that everybody goes through something like that. That's not a big deal. But to you and how you experienced it, you created a belief about yourself in that moment that you might still be carrying today. And that's what was so surprising about the EMDR. What was made me cry, the hardest moments in those therapy sessions were not going back to relive those scary and really, sad moments of my childhood. It was realizing what I believed about myself as a result of what I experienced. I had no idea I was carrying such deep shame, such deep guilt, such deep self loathing and hatred. I was a confident executive at a Fortune 500 company, living the life I had always dreamed of. People would have said, I am extroverted, I am happy. Like, it is crazy to me that I believed all of this about myself that whole time and didn't know it. And so that is the power of therapy. And I think that is the most important and effective way to go back and heal your past. The only other thing I would say to accompany that is that just talking about it when you have really embodied these memories, I found wasn't enough. You have to do body work because your body remembers. I used to say to Jen, my therapist, like, we're making so much progress. I feel so great about, I understand why I chose to do the things I did or what beliefs I picked up along the way. But my body still feels this shame and feels stuck in this place. And that's when I found myofascial release, which is a type of massage, kind of. I mean, it is, but it's not like your typical Western massage. It basically releases the fascia. Your fascia is what holds all of your organs, bones, tissue together. When you experience a trauma, I mean, you could have an accident on a swing set with your little brother and hurt your knee, but your shoulder on your left side ends up compensating for whatever happened to your right knee. And so it tightens up on the left side. And myofascial release goes back and releases that tension, releases that emotion physically in your body. So, this is where that mind, body, spirit approach is so important. You can't just cognitively process things. You have to drop in and make your body feel like a safe place to live again. And I think women in particular, this is one of the most important things to remember as they're going on a healing journey. It's like, you can do all the talking you want, but you have to pay attention to your body and making it feel safe. And that's why we talk about a lot of somatic, meaning of the body, practices on the show.
Because every cell remembers.
Yep. Yeah.
Every scent that you're familiar and you perceive that with a memory, whether it's good or bad, you will relive it. Now, I think the key when you actually know that you're past a situation or an event is when something or somebody calls you, or that something you've had to go through a certain thing. It used to trigger you before, but it doesn't anymore. That's when you know this is Nicolette 2.0. This is
That's
Chandler
right.
3.0.
It's the best feeling. You feel so powerful. Like, I am creating the energy I am living my life in. I'm not
Yeah.
letting that bother me anymore. I have this sharp boundary and I will not cross it. And, I think there's another element with the spiritual. I mean, that's been a big part of my journey as well. And you don't have to be religious to be spiritual. I talk about that all the time with Reverend Lizzie McManus Dale, one of my other heroes on the show. You can go for a walk in nature, and that is a deeply spiritual and personal experience. It's really what it comes down to is believing in something bigger than yourself. That is a very powerful place to be because that's when you start realizing, as I said before, nothing's happening to you. It's all happening for you. There is gratitude to be found in every hardship, in everything you've been through. And it may not be obvious right away, but it eventually shows itself down the road, whether that's metabolizing that pain to serve others and show them how to heal, whether that's the helpers that show up in the wake of a terrible disaster and the love that gets exchanged between strangers. There is always something to be grateful for. Do you have your breath? Are you breathing? I mean, this is the stuff, right? And when you can live with that kind of gratitude in your heart, that changes your energy. And, this is the biggest, best kept secret. Like everything is energy. When you can change your energy, your life completely changes and shifts. But to do that effectively, you've got to do this work. You can't just say you're in this place, but have your body and heart feel completely differently than what you're telling your brain. Like that, people do that all the time to manifest their dreams, and it just doesn't work. If you really want to manifest the life you want, you have to be it. You've got to be in that place. And the only way to get there is to remove that old software. And there's a road to get there. That can't happen overnight. It takes time, but it is absolutely worth the work.
How long have you been on this journey?
That's a great question. I think I can't even believe it, but like only about a year. I think I started I'm going to go a year and a half. So that work trip and my first call to my therapist we started in September of 24. So I'm going on about a year and a half now. But, with this work, my whole life has changed. I mean, I'm no longer a corporate executive at that
That's my
company.
next question. Yeah. Are you
I
still
left that
attached to a
company.
corporate?
No, this is what happens. It's crazy. Once you change yourself, your whole perspective changes. And suddenly it's like,
Nothing identifies with your current energetic vibrational
yeah,
frequency, right?
you start to get in touch with that inner knowing, that deep, deep part of you. I believe in God and I call it your soul. Some people call it the capital S self. Whatever you believe in, I believe you can tap into your soul and know why you are here and what your purpose in life is. And that's what this journey has allowed me to do, is tap into that in a very big way. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. I couldn't go back to my job because I was like, my mission here is bigger than this. And so I leapt. Truly, I took a leap of faith. I was like, I am not going to make any money, but I'm going to go launch this podcast and pray someone will listen. And here we are today, And it's like,
Here we are.
I'm still not making money, but that's okay because I'm doing something I love. And once you're in this energy, it all works out. Like, I can't explain it. It's just financially, I have been very lucky. And I think a lot of that is just the energy I emit gives me what I need to keep going.
I love that. It's like aligning yourself to it, knowing that you have a bigger calling, but then somehow in reality, in the 3D, it's not really what you hope for, but then living in that moment by positioning yourself what you feel, because the key to manifestation is envisioning and feeling that you're already there. The reality is already a reality, whatever that you want in the future. And you taking that leap of faith is, I mean, I can resonate because I too, I started this back in July 2023. So at the time, I knew that the job wasn't what I wanted. I knew that I was not gonna, there's no way I'm gonna get ahead. And I'm like, at the time, I had my divorce. It was like 3 years after that. And then I left a toxic corporate job, and I joined another one. But then I said, you know what? This is not me. I have
Mm,
I have a bigger no, I need to let people know who's gone through similar road as I have been. But they because the only thing that's stopping, I feel, after introspecting, is that they're afraid of what people will think of them. They have a scarcity mindset where I'm not going to be provided for. Whereas if some I believe in God too. If it's planted in your head or in your heart that you need to do this, and you know that you have to do this, one way or another you're going to be provided for. It doesn't matter if your bank account is, I don't know, $5 or $1 million. I don't know, or you don't have a proper equipment or a place to record. Like for me, I built this on, like, yeah, I traded my iMac for a my iPad, and it works. And thank God for Riverside, it can export 4K. And now we make do with what we have. Ever since then, my journey, I've spoken to 200, close to 200 people across the globe. And just today, Chandler, a bit of
So
sharing.
cool.
A bit of sharing. My I just had a beanie reunion with my friends, and it's so magical, and I felt very, very grateful. All of us. It's been 17 years since I left high school. Yeah, 18, 17, 18 years, and some of them are with kids, and we were just taking photos, and I'm like, wow, before it used to be us, just us, and now they have their own kids, and I'm like, it's so funny. At the time, I wanted to go out and achieve what I thought my calling was, get the money, get good grades, get the car, yada yada yada. But right now, all I'm grateful for is that I have friends and I have good health. And it's even more important because some of my friends, they're already telling me, Nick, we got to be careful, because I checked and I have cholesterol and yet whatnot. And I'm like, I just love these people. I'm just so grateful that I took that leap because I went away and now I'm back to my hometown. I mean, if I don't do this now, when else am I going to do it? So yeah, I can.
Good for you.
So, Chandler, what do you think should one take, or the tools or any strategies that one should take if they are listening to this right now and they want to know, okay, what's next for me?
Yeah. I mean, I think I always say at the end of every episode, be curious, be courageous, and be kind to yourself. And I really think those are the three keys. You've got to get curious about those moments where you're reacting or behaving in a way that you don't like. Is there something that triggers you that makes you feel fury or makes you feel a need for control or need to, I don't know, like feeling of like resentment or jealousy? Is there something that you're reacting to that you're like,
Hmm.
you know, get
Why?
curious in those moments. Why? Why do I feel that way? And really peel it back once you get an answer. Why? Because I tried really hard and she is not understanding where I'm coming from. Okay, why does that bother you so much? Because if she doesn't understand where I'm coming from, then I am must be doing something wrong. Okay, well, fine. Why does that bother you so much? Because I can't be wrong. Why? Because that would mean what about you? Right? So, like, you got to keep getting curious. And those are the moments that you realize, like, okay, something else is showing up here. And
Oh.
then you got to be courageous about going back to do the work and feel whatever it is you didn't feel that caused that feeling in the first place. So that's where therapy can be incredibly helpful along with those somatic practices. And there's a lot of ways to access therapy, lots of resources out there. But I think just truly, it's just trying to hear yourself again. So just get quiet. You can get curious about yourself in those moments, but just reconnect with yourself because the more you do that, the more you strengthen that muscle. And a lot of those answers will come flooding your brain a lot faster if you know how to just take that pause in your day and get quiet and try and hear yourself. And I don't mean hear your mind, I mean hear your heart. And I think a lot of busy women struggle with meditation. I could not meditate. I was a busy executive. I had two kids, a husband. I mean, a very busy life. Like, I couldn't access meditation. I mean, I joke, I took a 1 hour meditation class. I paid someone to sit there in silence while we meditated. I mean, it's so silly in retrospect, but like, I still felt like I was doing it wrong. This is where some of the stuff we talk about on the show is so powerful. Sound healing, acupuncture, myofascial release, breath work, yoga. All of these are somatic practices that teach you how to tune into your breath. And when you learn how to tune into your breath and get quiet, that's when you can start feeling into yourself again. Teaches you how to be present. We hear all the time, learn how to be more present in your day to day. Technology and so many things make that so difficult. But if you are struggling to get present, try one of these things. They're like gentle nudges that forcibly get you into a meditative state without you feeling like you have to do anything. And that is a really powerful place to be because we got to start hearing our hearts, our intuition, that inner knowing again, because that's where the journey begins. And so getting quiet and tuning into that is really the first step. But, I think just getting curious and asking those questions about yourself is another place you can start if, things like meditation and breath work you're not quite there yet.
Hmm. Do you also help people to go through the journey? Like, do you have your own practice?
No, it's a great question. And it's very timely because I am actually, no, I don't. It's really the podcast is really how you access all of the information. What I will say is that I think it's really helpful. And I've had so many women reach out thanking me to say, and thanking the heroes. Like, I don't feel as alone in this. I really didn't know this was bothering me. I'm going to go check this out. Like it's been great, but I really see a need to create more of a roadmap for women. What do I do first, second, and third? And so I have something in the works that's launching this spring, which I'm really excited to roll out, but it's a little bit kind of still hush hush for now. But I will very soon, if you follow us on Instagram at Healing Heroes Podcast, you will be the first to know when it launches and you can sign up when the time comes.
Brilliant. Well, okay, Chandler, I'm going to take you back to the part where you said you took that leap of faith to leave your corporate job. What was it like telling your family about it?
God. Well, the first memory that comes to mind is my father, who unfortunately has since passed of
I'm so
cancer
sorry.
this past November. Thank you for that. That was definitely a difficult stretch for me in my healing journey, but I thank God every day that I have the tools that I've accumulated through this work to help process and work through that. I still have more left to process, to be clear, but like I would not have come through it the way I did without my heroes and a lot of the daily practices that I employed. So that was a really tough stretch. But my father was my idol. And the reason he was my idol is because when everything was happening, the abuse, we went on a trip to look at schools together, boarding schools for high school, because I think my parents felt like, okay, let's get her out of here. She needs to get out of this house once they found out that the abuse was happening. And I don't know. I didn't really feel like once my parents found out, it was like this big, I felt like it should have been a bigger deal than it felt at the time. And so we had this dinner together where he looked at me and he finally said to me, when I found out what had happened, I wanted to kill him. And I, I just, the wind was knocked out of me. I'm like, okay, I have an advocate. I have someone who's looking out for me. And he said, what can I do? What can I do to help? And I said, I never want to see that man again, you know? And he said, done. And I never did. I never saw him again. He took care of it. And that stayed with me. And my father was a really smart, also a businessman, a very successful businessman. So I always looked to him for advice and counsel. And he was sort of my rock, my sense of safety. And so telling him, this man I respected and who I knew was so proud of me for being a vice president at this financial services company and this beautiful family and this perfect life, I had to sit him down and be like, Dad, I quit my job. And I remember being terrified because I had never made a major personal or professional decision in my life without his input. But in this work, in doing this work, I had tuned into myself so deeply. I was so confident in this path and so sure, so self assured that I knew how to navigate that situation and told him after the fact. And we had an incredible conversation. He opened up to me about his own trauma and how that might be affecting him in his day to day. He said, I don't necessarily understand the world of podcasting, but I can certainly support you and I believe in you and everything you're doing. And it was such a meaningful moment for me. And it was, I'll never forget it. I will never forget it. It was so powerful. So, I think it ended up being a lot better than I thought. I mean, I made the rounds. I told my mom, I told my sister, and everyone was really supportive. I think, they weren't sure where this was going to net out, but they could see I was passionate about it. And, most things I've put my mind to in the past turn out okay. So I think I got the vote of faith, but it was hard. Leaving my company was hard. I had been there for 10 years, over 10 years, but my old company was incredible about me wanting to leave to do this work and focus on myself and the therapy. At that point, I hadn't really solidified the podcast. Like that was going to be a hobby, whether I left my job or not. But the work to do the therapy, like it was interfering with my ability to do my job as a leader at a company with a team. And I felt like I needed to, for them and for myself, take a step back and focus on my mental health. And they were incredible. I was like, I'd love an unpaid leave. And they're like, we actually think you qualify for Family Medical Act leave. And I got a paid leave. And then I came back and said, I want to keep doing this work and change the lives of women. And my leader said, okay, well, that's helpful for me to know. We're revamping our teams anyway. Maybe we can make something work. And we parted in great ways. And I'm so grateful to that company and everything it's given me. So, it's amazing how things work out when you just let them flow and remove the resistance and the sense of needing to control the details. It's been magical, honestly. It's really incredible what's manifested in this space for me in the last year, following my heart, truly tapping into what feels right and just listening to that versus what I should be doing.
Have you ever noticed when you actually really tune in, the stars will align what you need to do here in the 3D on Earth?
Yes, 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 and more yes. I mean, look, we have a psychic medium on the show, Lee Morgan, who is
No.
fantastic.
Oh my
Oh my gosh,
gosh.
she's
Oh my
amazing.
God.
She is amazing. She is incredible on so many different levels, but that was a really big turning point for me was meeting with her. I actually met with her not to talk to deceased relatives. I met with her because we had 4 mutually exclusive floods in our home in a matter of 8 weeks. And I was like, this isn't normal. Like, this is something from the universe. God is trying to communicate
Trying to.
something that I am not picking up on. And I
Mhm.
didn't know how to interpret that. So I was like, my friend said, you should call this medium. I've used her before. And I did. And what transpired in that conversation changed my life. I mean, she basically helped me solidify the vision for the podcast in so many ways. Like I had already been percolating and I had already had this divine download that came to me in the middle of the night. I woke up at 4 in the morning and I just started writing and 12 pages of content flowed from me. And she later explained that like that was a divine download. Those were your spirit guides giving you what you needed because you were open to it. We are never alone. We always say you are not alone. And we think you're not alone in the context of everybody else there's so many other people experiencing what you are experiencing right now. You are truly not alone in this experience, but it goes so much further than that. You are not alone in that you have guides, spirit guides, helping you, wanting you to succeed every step of the way. And if you can remove your sense of control and your resistance within yourself, that conflict of like, this is what I want, but I don't have it, or that self-loathing that you don't know that's there. Like, how can you bring in positive vibes if you're constantly on repeat? Like, I suck. I'm carrying all this shame and all this guilt, and you don't know that that's the loop, right? It's
Mhm.
subconscious.
Mhm.
That is the energy that's not getting you anywhere. But when you remove that energy and you are open, that's when your spirit guides can start helping you.
Working on you.
Synchronicities, signs. Yeah, they can help you. They can help guide you. And whether it's through dream state or in other ways, like you can hear that message. And so this is why getting quiet is so, so important because we have help everywhere.
What's the most prominent moment for you when you knew it was divine download?
Think when I finished writing, the moment I stopped typing, I was like, where did this come from? I went to bed with not a single like inkling of podcast on my mind. Like, it was blank. Like, I had not conceived of the podcast, and suddenly I'm awake early in the morning. I had been saying, like, I wanna do something. I want to help women do this work because I'm feeling so different already, and my heroes are so wise and experienced, and I want women to experience them for themselves, but, like, if I write a book, well, I got to become an expert in all these things. And I don't have time for that. Right. And like, I've never written a book. I don't know if I'm a good writer. Like, there was so many. So I had the idea of like, how do I get this message out and how do I help women do this work for themselves? I didn't have the answer, but I woke up at 4 in the morning, wide awake. And I was like, I think I have an idea. I just felt this pull to go write. And so I grabbed my computer and went downstairs and I just started typing. And it was like, I started with like, here's my mission. Here's how I'm going to do it. And like, here's the content pillars. Here are the heroes that I want involved in it. And I just started writing all of it. And 12 pages later, I was like, oh my gosh, I have an idea. And then I couldn't unsee it. I was like, well, great. Now I got to go make this happen.
Yeah.
So, I mean, talk about an undertaking because the unique part of our podcast is we are not a revolving door of guests. We are the same
Mm,
12 heroes. Like, this is sort of like a TV show, right? Like, this is a cast of characters I want listeners to understand, get to know, believe are credible, feel like a familiar voice, a friend that they can turn to when they have troubles or questions, right? So, I basically, the commitment I was asking my heroes for was pretty substantial. I mean, they all have businesses of their own. And I had to approach every single one of them and say, "Hey, I have this idea. Will you join me?" And they all said yes. And this is where it gets really meant to be really quick, fun anecdote. One of my heroes that I saved till the end, I hadn't worked with one to one. Ophira Adut. She is a famous astrologer to the stars. I mean, she's read for Beyonce. She is read for famous, famous people. And I had been following her work since I was 18 years old. I love astrology because it's a great
me
way of getting
too.
curious about yourself, right?
Yes.
And seeing your habits through like an unbiased third party
Mm,
lens. And so I was like, well, I have to have her on the show. If I'm doing astrology, it has to be Ophi. But I'm like, she's famous. I don't even know how to reach her. Her people are probably protecting her. And so I saved her for last. And the day I started brainstorming on the train on my way into work, an email hit my inbox from Astro Style, the Astro twins. She has a twin sister who she works with. And it said live event with Ophira Adut at Bergdorf Goodman next Wednesday, 7 to 9 or whatever. It's like a perfume, match your perfume to your zodiac sign. Tickets
okay.
available now. I clicked the link, got one of the very few tickets remaining. And I went to that store and to that show, and we chatted for a few minutes. And I just handed her my business card and I said, call me. I'm working on something and I'd love for you to be a part of it. She called me that night and we Zoomed the next day and she said yes. And so she's been a healing hero ever since. So that's like one great anecdote of like the universe, God, whatever you believed in, like that's how you know you're on the right path when things like that happen. And that's not the only one. I can share one other very quick one if you want, which was
Yes, please.
the priest that I wanted to be on the show. I had seen in our Come As You Are services on Sunday night, but she and I had never worked one on one. And I didn't think she really knew me. I was just a parishioner in a crowd. And I was like, she's another one. Like, she's so busy. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get her on. And I'm starting to email her on the train again. All my work for this was done on the train on the way home. So I sent an email to her being like, I'd love to chat briefly about something I'm working on that I think would be great for you to be a part of. And the conductor came through and was like, there's track work in Darien, which is where I was getting off. So you have to go back 3 cars if you want to get off the train. So I walked back 3 cars, and who was sitting in the first seat by the door? The priest I had just emailed from the front of the train. And my good friend was sitting next to her, and she said, we just had our church offsite in New York City. Have you met Hannah? Hannah, this is Chandler. And I was like, you're going to think I'm stalking you. I literally just wrote an email to you from the front of the train asking you for coffee. And she's like, let's do
Oh
it
my
next week.
goodness.
And we planned our coffee. Can you believe? Like, this is the stuff that started happening in my life. You cannot make up these miraculous happenings. These are the signs that you know a greater power is helping you, opening doors and pushing you forward. And when those things start happening, you know you're on the right path and you can't look back.
Even if you try, like moments of doubt, right, comes, and then you'll be like, no, I can't look back anymore because this is, I'm meant to move forward. These are just, you can say temptations or your old self trying to call you back to, let's see if you're still going to succumb to that, to those beliefs that you have left long time ago. I've had those moments too where sometimes, like you said, podcasting, now I'm making money, not the ones that I, envision it to be just yet, but it's kind of different from what you're used to being in a corporate and being in management, right? It's
Yeah.
it's definitely, yeah, and you kind of miss it. But then even even at the slightest thought of just trying to thinking of going back, it's like, no, Nick, you're just betraying yourself right now. No,
Don't do it.
don't do it.
Don't
Exactly.
succumb to the fear. Fear is not a place to action your life from, ever.
Exactly. And this right here, Chandler, is another message from the universe. Nick, you ought to go forward. No going back.
No going back, Nick. You've got
I'm
the
not
mic.
going
You
back.
traded in the computer. Like, you're
Yes,
in it.
I'm in it. Oh, this has been so wonderful, Chandler. I love talking to you.
You too.
I don't know you actually have 12 people in your show. Like this.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So, okay, can you give us a breakdown, a rundown of who are these people? And you've given a few. So,
Yes.
what are the roles and
Okay, referencing my list because inevitably with 12, I'm like, I'm always going to forget somebody. So we have Jacques Depardieu. He is my acupuncture practitioner and specialist, East Asian medicine as well. He's fantastic. For yoga, sound healing, and Thai body work, we have Nicole Kim. She's incredible. Myofascial release is Karen Remily. And we just had Moylan Ryan on the show as a guest hero for Rolfing, but he'll be back again. He's going to make another appearance at some point. I want to do an Aikido episode with him, but I got to try it first. I will not have a hero on who I haven't worked with personally or tried their modality. So I got to try that. But that was a great episode. It was the one that released last week on Rolfing. Sound healing, I touched on accountability. This is a big one. This is how I teach women to show up for themselves in the present. And that's Bonnie Heim. She is she's an accountability coach, but specifically for nutrition and fitness, because that's where it starts, showing up for yourself every day. For mindset, I have my mindset coach, Katie Wee. She's incredible. She also is the mastermind behind Happy Camp. She does these retreats 2 times a year, which are fantastic for eliminating those limiting beliefs. If you want to zen out in paradise and not necessarily meet with a therapist, that could be a great option for you. It's like a quick 4-day download in how to remove a lot of what you picked up along the way.
brilliant.
Energy healing, Reiki with Catherine McLean, incredible. EMDR and talk therapy with Jen Baumgold. Spirituality, we talked about. Excuse me. Spirituality is the Reverend Lizzie McManus Dale. Also plug, she just released a new book that is topping the charts. It's amazing, called God Didn't Make Us to Hate Us. I cannot recommend it highly enough. It is a beautiful book. I interviewed her on it. It's one of the few times I've cried on my show.
Hmm.
I have tarot cards and breath work, specifically reset breath work with Kate DeMello. And she is actually a confidence and empowerment coach for women who does tarot. And I love tarot because while seemingly mystical, tarot helps you tap into your intuition in ways you could not have imagined. So I love tarot for learning to tap into your intuition that way. And then finally, astrology with Ophira Adut. So that is my team of 12 advisors, the incredible healing heroes who are just such incredible people. They've devoted their lives to helping people all over the world. And truly, I mean, many of them have been doing this work for years and years and years when it was thought of as woo-woo and different. And now it is becoming a lot more mainstream, and they're so knowledgeable. And I've loved working with them.
I love everybody that you mentioned, their roles. I love tarot too.
It's so great. You have to,
I
everybody needs a tarot
know.
deck. In fact,
Exactly.
fun activity, if you want to tap into, this is a really fun way to tap into your intuition daily, weekly. I like doing it weekly. If you have a tarot deck, pull 3 cards, mind, body, spirit, flip them over and journal about what they mean to you. You don't even need to know what the cards mean in the deck. Look at the image.
Exactly.
This
Look
is
at the
what my
image and
mind
what
card is
comes.
today.
Exactly. What
It's a
comes up.
great exercise and it's a great prompt for journaling.
Yes. No wonder I knew
This was so fun.
it is. And it's so, I feel so sad we have to part soon. But okay, I think this is the start of something, bigger, longer along the way. I do have plans to set up my own retreat as well, because I do holistic lifestyle work, hypnotherapy, and I would love to be, in touch with some or even all of your heroes soon in the future for possible
Absolutely.
collaboration.
They would love that.
Yeah. So, okay, Chandler, we are going to pivot to a self-worth question. This is a there's no it's a not there's nothing right or wrong about this question. The answer, it could be anything from you. How can someone balance the pursuit of external validation with the need for internal self-acceptance and self-worth?
That is a very jam-packed question there. I mean, this is so hard because I so believe at my core, as someone who strived for external validation my whole life, it really didn't take me to, I mean, I guess at some points it did, but like it doesn't take you to the place you're looking to go, right? I think so often we say, like, when I get the job, I'll be happy. When I lose the weight, I'll be happy. When I get the car, the guy, the baby, whatever it is, I'll be happy, right? And most of the time you want those things because you want the external validation. So I think external validation is a huge waste of time. Personally, I understand we are wired that way because, back in caveman times, you needed your tribe to survive, right? You truly needed to be accepted by the tribe in order to live and thrive. And I think that is in our DNA, in our makeup. And so we have this pull, this inexplicable pull to be accepted. And we're taught that along the way. Absolutely. It's ingrained by culture, by peers, by parents, by everyone around us, by yourself, right? But I think it's a huge waste of time. And I think truly you will only be happy when you really learn to stop caring what other people think. And it's a very, very hard thing to achieve. Like, it takes a while to get there, but it is possible. And I believe in doing that work, this work that we're talking about today, learning to love yourself first. Once you love yourself, you don't need external validation because you are good with you,
Yeah.
right? And that's the dream. That's what causes peace. That's what removes this frenetic energy that we go about our days operating within. That's what removes the resistance and the stress. It's like you emanate peace and love and connectedness. That is what your soul, that is the language of your soul. And when you can get back to that, the external validation, I think it comes anyway, right? Because people want to be around people who emanate that kind of energy because it's so rare. But it's a really tough thing. I know it's a hard thing to digest and hear, but I think we have to stop caring so much about what other people think.
You have it, guys. You heard it from Chandler herself. Stop caring about what people think and go be you.
That's right. I mean, look at the people who have done incredible things in the world. Like, you have to be different to be extraordinary. It's just the way it is. You want
It's
an
in the word
extraordinary
itself,
life.
extraordinary. You want to be.
Yeah. Thank
You
you.
want to stand
Yes.
out. Yeah.
Great point.
What is your heart's greatest wish, Chandler?
My heart's greatest wish is that the entire world can operate from this place of self-worth and love, because I think it would change the world. I truly do. I think we'd hear each other again. We would listen without judgment. We would connect once again on levels that are beyond anything that you can imagine. I mean, even just this last year, I'm going to make a quick plug, like the conversations I've been able to have with friends beyond just like, what did you guys do for vacation last week? What's your kid up to? What sports is he or she doing? It's like, well, I have this hurt and I am feeling really, I'm having a really hard time right now because, and then you like peel back those layers and you can go deep. And that kind of bond and connection, like you can't fake that. And imagine if one person does that and teaches another person to do it, and then everyone in their orbit does it, and then everyone
Yes.
in that orbit does it, like that's how it spreads. It's like a ripple on water on the surface of a lake. And that's what I want. That is my greatest wish, is that everyone can operate from this place of self-worth and self-love, because it's not selfish. When you can find that place of self-love and self-worth, you will be in this place of service to others and be able to connect with others and create in whatever way that is authentic for you. It might be in a hospital. You might create in an office. You might create in an art studio. But that is why we're here, is to create, to learn, and to be in service of others.
You begin with yourself. And we all have this mission. At least at one point, I wanted, if you want to change the world, start with yourself and impact that person around you, one
Yeah,
person at a time. And it's within your
absolutely.
orbit.
Yep, absolutely.
If you could create a quote right now for you to lead to the audience listening and the world as your legacy, Chandler, what would it
Oh, I end every show. Be curious, be courageous, and be kind to yourself. You've got this.
be? I love it. Now, how can people reach out to you and hear your incredible stories with your heroes?
Healing Heroes podcast. And very simple, that is also our website, healingheroespodcast.com. You can meet the heroes, get all sorts of resources, and sign up for our newsletter. It's monthly. It's just a great hub of information. So, highly recommend you go there. And then, of course, listen to the show, the Healing Heroes podcast. It's available on Apple, Spotify, and anywhere you podcast.
Brilliant. Okay, so any last message, Chandler, before we wrap up the show?
I mean, I think just be kind to yourself. No matter what you're going through, just give yourself that self compassion. I think it sounds so cliche, but it goes such a long way when you can speak to yourself intentionally with kindness. It starts to change everything. And if there's nothing else you take away from today but this, it's just to talk to yourself with compassion and give yourself grace. It really changes everything. Wow. Thanks, Nick.
That is a wrap on today's inspiring episode with Chandler Stroud. Thank you for your wisdom and your dedication to continue uplifting others around you. For our listeners, this has been your Worthless. Read that again, the juxtaposition of your very soul. Now, if you've ever felt worthless, you are not alone. Your soul chose to be here to matter. And for that reason alone, you are worthy. A huge thank you to you again, Chandler, and to all of you for listening. Until next time, I am Nick Nieras. Keep shining, keep growing, and always remember, you are worthy and you are enough. See you in the next episode. Thank you, Chandler, for your time.
Thank you so much. This was great.
Awesome. Chandler, hi, good morning to you. How are you doing today?
Doing great. Thank you. I am so excited to be here.
Well, thank you for saying yes to be interviewed today. And I'd like to introduce myself to you formally. My name is Nicolette. I am the creator for the podcast titled You're Worthless. Read that again. The juxtaposition of your very soul. So, hello everyone. We have Chandler Stroud here with us. Chandler is an ex-corporate marketing executive turned holistic wellness advocate, having spent over 15 years marketing some of the world's largest brands, now embracing her new role as founder and host of the Healing Heroes podcast. Now, this is a show dedicated to helping women find peace, better health, and more happiness, using unexpected and enjoyable approaches that heal mind, body, and spirit. Now, I would love to read more about you, but I guess it is so much more beautiful and wonderful to hear it from the person herself. So, welcome, Chandler, to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I can't wait for this conversation. It should be a lot of fun.
Yes, yes. So, Chandler, what was it like growing up as a Chandler Stroud? Love this episode? Now, transformation doesn't end here. Head on to at holistic.lifestyle_with_Nick. That is on my Instagram. Or head on to my website, www.deniqueras.holisticlifestyle.com for more info on my coaching framework, which is the Worthy, Authentic, and Abundant Framework, digital guides, and my upcoming events such as retreats and master classes and workshops. Now, I also do intuitive readings where we get to check on your soul path. And if you're also wanting to check on your energetic alignment, I have done that too. And I offer that kind of services. So